Welcome. We are very happy to get you here with for in Sciences Po and in SPIA. So just to tell you a bit about who we are. So we are SPIA is an acronym for Sciences Po Energy Association, and basically what we do is to try to disseminate the main thematics about energy. So we are a school of politics here in Sciences Po, and we try to inform all the students not only about the political side of energy, but we are trying to make it a bit also the technical side of it, and from many aspects. As we're in Europe, we try to be a diverse team, so we are trying to make different conference about Latin America. We're gonna have one quite soon. Then we are planning also to make another one in Africa and also in the Middle East. So just to get a big picture about everything, and just not to be a bit one-sided, and to get just focus on the things that just happen in Europe, but what happen globally. So yeah, we would like to ask you some questions, but I don't know if you, yeah, Amanda, you can start if you want.
Well, I had one first question. It grabbed my attention that in the new World Energy Outlook, there's a big assumption that the U.S. will be providing cheap gas into the world LNG market. And so ever since President-elect Donald Trump was elected, the forward curve of the U.S. Treasuries have been going up, and the market is expecting the interest rates to go up. And so what I was thinking is the whole LNG the whole shale revolution was based on cheap credit. So if we get the interest rates going up in the US, is that LNG provision going to be sustainable in the way at least that the well presents it?
It's a very good question. But first I'd like to say thank you very much for the opportunity to talk today, and congratulations to you on the association and the things that you do. You'll find there's a lot in common between the things that you're trying to look at and the things that we're looking at in the World Energy Outlook. It's true that the shale gas revolution has been based on relatively easy access to credit, but you also need to look at the quality of the resource, and that's essentially what our long-term outlook is based on. I mean, you have a very large, widely accessible, and a resource that actually is proven quite, in a sense, easy to develop at prices around the sorts of things that you see today, so in the $3 to $4 per MBTU range, and sometimes even lower. Now, in our view, those costs will go up, and they will go up gradually over time. And one of the reasons is for that in relation to the access to credit. But the main one is that as you start moving away from the most productive areas, you start to find that the costs of producing some of this shale gas are rising over time, even as you have additional sort of technology and efficiency improvements. So that's why we think that the cost of US shale gas production will increase, and that what you're talking about in particular in terms of access to credit, that may play a part in the trend that we also see.
But still contributing largely to the gas world energy market.
In our view, the US LNG exports expand quite rapidly, particularly over the period to 2020, and that contributes to some interesting changes that we're observing in the international gas market. The US LNG is a catalyst for some quite interesting changes in the way that gas is traded. You have a lot more arbitrage trades, you have a lot more LNG cargoes that are free just to seek the most profitable opportunity, whereas before you had a lot more sort of point-to-point LNG trades that were contractually obliged to go in a certain direction. So that's quite a big change in the way that the LNG market operates, and US LNG has a big part in that.
Thank you. Then just to move to another realm in a way, so talking about renewable energies, so we see in your new outlook you have a new increase on renewable. You are a bit, let's say, a bit moderate than maybe another agencies like REN 21, let's say, but still you forecast them to increase. On a world of ever increasing renewable energies, let's say, so those countries that have the opportunity or like are being blessed by having hydropower, they're going to use hydro as battery. But those that don't are maybe going to use coal plants, or maybe going to use gas plants. We don't know yet. But I'm very curious to know what is the technology that you see that is going to fulfill the requirement that the International Energy Agency have of 90 days of energy storage to be there ready as a backup? And also, another question just to complement that, are you thinking on reform that? Are you looking like maybe this requirement is not really compatible with the characteristics of renewable energy? And are you looking on the future to modify this, like to make it on a source to be more compatible with the fact that renewable are increasing?
So I think there's two issues here. There's the 90-day requirement is around oil security primarily. So it's around the ability to withstand a disruption to oil supply. Now, there are some penetration of renewables into the markets that oil dominates. Biofuels, for example, maybe electric vehicles, if they're supplied by renewable electricity. But I mean, the question about the security of a renewables-rich power system is a little bit separate then from the oil supply security issues. And it highlights something that we're trying to emphasize in this World Energy Outlook, that the nature of the energy security debate is changing. So you have your traditional concerns around oil and gas supply, but you also have a lot of new issues that are arising, particularly in the power sector, with the rise of variable renewables, so wind and solar. And in our view, you need a different set of tools in order to manage some of those new risks. You need to have particularly a very flexible operation of your power system. So you need to have a strong grid. You need to have some dispatchable backup, as you mentioned, whether it's hydro or gas, or even some other renewables like biomass-based generation. But you also need to think about some other aspects of that. So can you get investment, so-called system-friendly investment of renewables? So you get the technology that you need in order to run the system more easily. And then can you do things on the demand side? Can you encourage demand-side flexibility so that certain applications, whether it's your washing machine, operates at a time of day which is friendly for the system rather than contributing to peak demand at certain times of day? And can you also develop the technologies that would allow you to store energy cost effectively and allow you to store energy and therefore move demand from the time that is heavy for the system to the time when it's light for the system? So those are the things that I think you need to think about when you talk about some of these new energy security challenges in the power sector. And one other thing is cybersecurity as well, because you're getting increasingly reliant on, in a sense, intelligent operation of the grid. And that means you need to have systems in place that prevent any manipulation of those grids and of those intelligent systems.
Okay.
Well, also, as we see in the outlook, we can see like the price of oil is going to rise again. But our question is more like, if we're going to have new fuels like renewables, how is this transition going to happen, like the price of oil rising?
I mean, it really, in a sense, our price outlook, our price trajectory, has a lot to do with the balance in the oil market. As I mentioned before, the oil market is not one where you have a huge influence of renewables, because oil is concentrated in the power sector, in the transportation, in petrochemicals. There are some renewable alternatives there, but they are not yet very widespread. So the rise of renewables, which we see as one of the big findings of this outlook, and certainly it's larger, as you mentioned, than we've had before because of some policy initiatives that have been taken since last year. It has a bigger influence on gas because of the role of gas in the power sector. It has a bigger influence on coal. For the moment, it has less of an influence on the oil market. So the rebalancing of the oil market that we see taking place in the next few years is somewhat isolated from those broader energy sector phenomena.
But we also see there's going to be like an increase in electric cars, right?
Sure, and that has some very important impacts on oil demand. So for the first time in this outlook, we believe that the world will use less oil in passenger cars in 2040 than it does today. Even though there's around 1 billion passenger cars in the world at the moment, that goes up to 2 billion. And despite that shift, the amount of oil used in the system goes down. And that has a lot to do with efficiency policies. It has something to do with biofuels and natural gas vehicles. And then it has, what's the tipping point in practice, is the expansion of the electric car fleet between now and 2040.
Yeah. Just to come back a bit to my last question. Recently, I was just in the New York Times conference, Energy for Tomorrow, and I listened a lot of people talking about the carbon neutral future. But I always wondering, coming back to that, to the part of security, what do you think is going to be that technology? Like you forecast that maybe today is a bit immature, but maybe tomorrow is going to be there as a backup for allow us like to think really on a renewable energy future without fearing blackout.
I think probably come back to energy storage as one that plays only a relatively small role in our outlook to 2040. But if you're really talking about a carbon neutral system, you really need to be able to store electricity in a competitive way. And that will help you in all sorts of ways, not just in the power sector, but also in other sectors. Because there's a lot of focus on decarbonising electricity. The really difficult things are to decarbonise some of the end-use sectors, so whether it's heat provision or transport. And that's what we talk about as being the next frontiers for renewables. We know roughly how to decarbonise electricity supply. What's less focus for policymakers at the moment is how do you decarbonise the provision of heat? How do you decarbonise your transport sector? And some of those areas are actually quite difficult to do. And some of the technologies that you would need are really only at a relatively early stage. For instance, decarbonising heavy goods freight. Do we really know how to manage that in practical terms? Do we know how to decarbonise aviation? I mean, those are the sorts of problems that policymakers will increasingly need to tend to.
Actually, my following question was just about the new frontier that the new World Energy Outlook poses towards renewables, how to get into transportation. It's going to be the new frontier. And when I was looking at the numbers, it has some estimations on how they're going to penetrate. And I was wondering, but what is that exactly? What technology is behind that? Is it, because we could think of electrifying transportation and just doing renewables in transportation via electrification, but it also has some estimations on direct renewables. So we were wondering, what's the technology the IEA is looking at this?
I mean, if you're talking about direct use of renewables in transportation, at the moment you're just talking about biofuels. So,
but it's quite large.
But I mean, there are some limits on how far you can push biofuels development and still call it sustainable. And those are potential competition with other land users, water issues and various other issues that you have to, in the end, constrain the amount of biofuels you can put into the system. So for most of the transport sectors, you're talking about electrification. That is practical, and you know roughly how it would look for the passenger cars. But when you start talking about trucks and heavy goods vehicles, the size of the battery required for a heavy goods vehicle means that this is, at the moment, not something that you can really electrify.